Welcome to the Vault XL. This commentary is pertaining to Jaqueline and Trezell West. As most of you know, they were found guilty in the murder of one of the children, Orrin West. False reporting of a crime. And a motion has been filed to postpone the West sentencing for the second time. KGET News is the source.
Noon here with your 17 Court Watch. Today's highly anticipated sentencing hearing for Trezell and Jaqueline West has been delayed. 17's Michaela Armstrong was in court this morning and has more on this historic case. Michaela.
Elena, in court today, it was decided the sentencing hearing for Trezell and Jaqueline West would be postponed to September 28th for defense attorneys to provide more information to the court. A jury in May found the West guilty of second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child cruelty regarding the death of 4-year-old Orrin, but failed to reach verdicts on second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in connection with 3-year-old Orson's death. However, neither of the boys' bodies has been found. On the new scheduled sentencing date, Judge Charles R. Bremer will decide whether to proceed or if the new information requires further postponement. However, those close to the case say they fear this could cause further delays.
I just feel like it's very disrespectful. The family is going through enough, and I don't know what they need to get in order, but the last time we was told when we came that it wouldn't be another postponement. So how many postponements do you get?
I'll have more details on the postponement and the reaction to the news tonight at 17 News at 5. Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
KGET News is the source. So what is it that the defense attorneys need to bring forward to the court? What information do you have that would be valid to bring forward to make the judge what? Not make them go to jail, prison, give them a small sentence. The fact that only one child was deemed murdered when they were a package deal at adoption, first foster care, then adoption, then both went missing at the same time, which is very rare. Most child abductions, when they are pertaining to biological children who are related to one another, it's usually a parent or a guardian who has kidnapped the child. And so far, no one has brought forward any information that any biological family members took the children. And basically, I believe that's what their premise was to the court, and possibly that's what their information is going to be the next time they go to court, whenever that will be, allegedly September 28th. But who's to say if it won't be another postponement? I do not know. But maybe that's what they want to say. You really don't have proof, Your Honor, that these people murdered either child, although the jury convicted them of one child. But in the end, it doesn't make any sense that you had a house full of children and that these two would go missing. Why these two? There has to be a reason that these two children would be the ones missing from the foe. Let's get some more information pertaining to this court proceeding that won't go forward. KGET.com is the source. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats, and welcome to the live stream. Thank you for your time. The sentencing hearing has been postponed to September 28th for defense attorneys to provide more information to the court. On that date, Judge Charles R. Bremer will decide whether to proceed with sentencing or if the new information requires further postponement. The sentencing of the adopted parents whose two youngest children were reported missing in 2020 and are presumed dead is scheduled for this morning but will likely be postponed. A motion to postpone the sentencing for Trezell and Jaqueline West has been filed in court, will be heard in front of Judge Charles R. Bremer at 8:30 a.m. 17 News will live blog the proceedings. After a weeks-long trial, jurors found Trezell West, 36, Jaqueline West, 33, guilty of second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child cruelty regarding the death of Orrin Fort, but failed to reach verdicts on second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in connection with the 3-year-old Orson's death. A guilty verdict for child cruelty was returned regarding Orson. Very interesting. Second-degree murder carries a prison term of 15 years to life. The couple was also convicted of false reporting an emergency. The Wests reported Orrin and Orson missing from their California City home December 21st, 2020. Prosecutors say the boys died 3 months earlier while the family was still living at an apartment in Bakersfield. Defense counsel argued authorities focus on their clients at the expense of thoroughly investigating other possibilities, including whether the boys were kidnapped by a sex offender or someone from their biological family. Trezell West is represented by Timothy Hennessy and Victor Nasir, Jaqueline West by Alexia Torres Stallings and Fatima Rodriguez. Bremer said there's a joint defense request to move the hearing to September 28th to provide additional information for the court to decide whether to continue the matter further or go forward with the sentencing on that date. Once again, Bremer, who is the judge, has set the next hearing for September 28th. That is the latest information pertaining to that hearing. Let's hear some more information pertaining to the family.
With an unexpected development today in the highly anticipated sentencing hearing for Trezell and Jaqueline West, the adoptive parents of 2 little Bakersfield boys who disappeared some 3 years ago. The defense today asking the court to postpone sentencing for the couple, and the judge honored that request. 17's Michaela Armstrong was in court this morning and joins us now with the latest in this high-profile case. Michaela, good evening.
Good evening, Jim. Well, as you can see behind me, it's pretty quiet outside of the courthouse today, but earlier this morning, it was a different story because when those who are close to the case found out that the sentencing for Trezell and Jaqueline West would be postponed, they had immediate reactions.
They sit up in here and act like they just the parent of the year? No. They murderers. They murderers. They animals. Trezell and Jaqueline, y'all animals. Okay? Tell us what the babies are. No deal, nothing.
Emotions ran high after it was decided in court Wednesday that sentencing for Trezell and Jaqueline West would be postponed to September 28th for defense attorneys to provide more information to the court. In May, a jury reached verdicts on 5 of 7 charges after a weeks-long trial. The couple were accused of murdering their 2 adopted sons, Orrin and Orson West, who went missing in 2020. Jurors found the couple guilty of murder for the death of 4-year-old Orrin and child cruelty for 3-year-old Orson's death. Now they face life terms in prison. The boys' bodies have not been found. That is why the news of the delay in sentencing the couple drew an immediate reaction from many.
We have to relive this every time we come to this courtroom. Every time. This is a reliving. You know, the mom, the dads. This is hurtful stuff, and people need to take, if it was your children, including a judge, including whoever is behind whatever, they need to realize this could be your kids, and you will feel the same way that we feel.
Family and friends of the boys' biological parents fear it could be postponed again and feel they must continue to make their presence felt to ensure that does not happen.
Oh, we don't sleep without thinking about it. We're waiting for justice. So we're not leaving. We're going to be here every day. Every time they have court, we're here. No matter if we got to take off, no matter what, we are here. That's applying pressure. Our presence is applying pressure, period.
Those I spoke to told me the sentencing does not bring them closure, but finding out where the boys are will. Live from downtown Bakersfield, Michaela.
KGET.com is the source. Many people will be or are baffled at the verdict. 1 week of trial and 12 people of the jury said that both individuals, or animals as the family says, murdered Orrin Ford, but did not, I'm confused, did not what? Murder the other child, Orson? Failed to reach verdicts on second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in connection with 3-year-old Orson's death. A guilty verdict for child cruelty was returned regarding Orson. So let me get this clear. You believe that they killed the first child, which would have been the oldest one, I'm assuming, the 4-year-old. The 3-year-old, you brought a guilty verdict for child cruelty. Why? Why even say that they were cruel to the third one? Or, because really you're contradicting yourself to say, well, I think they killed this kid, however, but they were cruel to the baby, but yet he's missing alongside the older child. Make it make sense. Guilty verdict for child cruelty regarding Orson. Second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child cruelty, 3 charges now, for Orrin, the older child, who would have been 4 at that time. So I think you did this, and this to him, older child, 4. But you're just cruel to Orson, the 3-year-old. But yet, both are missing. So you took account the forensic interview with the remaining children of what they told you pertaining to what? The older child and what they heard and saw. But it makes no sense either way because 2 children are missing. Never been found. Parents claim they didn't harm or murder the children. So I'm going to ask the 12 members of the jury, where the fuck do you think the other child is alongside the first one that you think they involuntarily killed? Help me understand. And you know, you have to walk around knowing that you gave this stupid ass verdict for both children. They orchestrated these deaths, I do believe. They took these children in for nefarious reasons, possibly greed. They lived off that money to take care of those said children. They did not work and hold down full-time jobs at the time of the children's disappearance. So that should tell you something right there. You want me to believe in the state of California, there was nowhere for these 2 to find employment in the general area. And then the fact they moved way out in the middle of nowhere in the damn desert to raise small children. Most people would want to raise their children in a town where the children could have a livelihood, do things, go places, be a part of the community, be part of a school, something, including the parents. Don't you want a livelihood to do something? But perhaps we have some people who were misfits, ostracized. They didn't mind going out in the middle of nowhere to raise children because there was something wrong with them. I also noticed while these relatives are standing out, relatives, friends, whomever, speaking about the children, I didn't see the biological parents standing there. Now, one guy spoke who was a friend of the father, I believe, you know, saying they're distraught, he's distraught, or he's sick going into the courtroom. Well, you know, people really don't, people who care will still say, damn, these are your children. A lot of people were sick hearing about the children missing. People were sick once trial began. People are sick now that it's been postponed 2 times. Why are you making excuses? See, this is what I hate about these children cases. They're all the same to me. There's always excuses for why somebody can't do something. Somebody can't show up. Somebody can't walk into court. You just continuously let this young lady be the mouthpiece. That makes no sense to me when they are your children. Where is the mother and the father of the children. Why are you all not there rallying for this proceeding? Why? Then you all are the same people to say, the ones who were there speaking, they didn't have a chance. Well, they didn't have a chance from the beginning, from birth up until getting with the West. I think that's obvious. And the fact that you don't have these biological parents even being there, that says you're contradicting what you're saying. You try to put it all off, of course, yes, on these people, because what they did was heinous. It would have believed they are the murderers of the children. But the children didn't have a chance from birth, and that's my personal assertion. I'm going to always say that. Some may not like it, but it's the truth. They never had a chance. That's why they ended up in the care of these people in the first place. And you can get mad at who had them and didn't have them and why the state took them from this person. The state had a reason for everything that they did. Would you have preferred they stay with the biological mother? Would you prefer another arm or leg got broke? We'd probably be back at the same place we are now. Hearing about 2 children abused. Worst case scenario, death. That's the point of the story. They didn't have a chance from birth. Not just with the West. They were neglected. That's why they got in the care of the West family. The state thought these people would be a good fit, but they were not. But how is that different than where they came from? It is no difference. And that's one thing people fail to acknowledge. The children never had a chance from birth. And sadly, they went into the wrong care and were murdered. I don't think these two are ever going to tell the truth about what happened to the kids. Because as you see now, the defense attorney, Miss Stallings, who is working for Miss Jaqueline, in my understanding, it's also a joint effort by both all sets of attorneys, because they have 2 attorneys per person. They're trying to gather information. And what I'm trying to understand is, what is it that you're trying to gather to tell the judge that will be of relevance to sentencing? What? Somebody's mentally deprived. One of them is autistic, developmentally slow, has a low IQ, was abused, molested, raped. What are you going to say? Because I'm assuming that's where this is going. You're going to tell us how bad these 2 had it growing up. They had misfits for parents. They were abused. Oh, God forbid we'll hear something bad about Miss Wanda West. So let me guess. She abused him and other children. She was a tyrant. That's where he got his what? Bad attitude, temper from. Is that what we're going to hear? And when you watch them standing in the court, they're looking down, not looking at the judge, not basically paying attention to what is being said in court. And I found that interesting in this clip here. What are you looking at? I guess you said the hell with it. There's nothing to focus on anyway. These people believe we're guilty. Our fates are doomed. But you made this decision when you took the children in. And I don't believe 2 children accidentally died on the same day, or accidentally died days apart, months apart. That's unheard of. Every blue moon, you may hear of an elderly person dying, and then their mate died a day too later, a month too later. Died of a broken heart. But rarely do you hear of a 3 and a 4-year-old dying within months of each other. It's unheard of. And one's going to use deduction if they have any common sense. Hey, these kids were killed. Because it would even be odd if one died accidentally and then one was murdered. Because it's something you rarely hear of. I believe they plotted the deaths of these children because they were abusing them. And when you're abusing a child, you should know the inevitable could happen, which would be death. They didn't like these children for whatever reason, and they exacted death upon the children. That's my personal assertion. Because in the end, you have to use deduction. You have 6 children, and the only 2 that are missing are the ones who are biologically related to one another and adopted. Stay woke. Now, yes, 2 other children were allegedly adopted and or foster children. I don't have any verification which one is true, but it doesn't really matter. The 2 that are missing and deemed dead are biological brothers. Can be rambunctious, says Mr. Trezell. And yet they're the 2 that are missing. Because those are the 2 that you possibly hated. I'll just go ahead and say you hated the kids. You didn't like them. You grew to detest them, you and your wife. One or both of you exacted the crime against the 2 children. They died 9 times out of 10 in close proximity of one another in time. A day or 2, a month, whatsoever. In the end, it's not going to matter because you all are never going to tell the truth. I believe you killed those kids. It was orchestrated. You have no remorse. You're not in court crying. You never cried when you gave your first press conference to the news. You never spoke to the news again. You never looked for the children. And you never rallied for them thereafter. Briefly, we saw the biological mother speaking to the news. She disappeared into the night. Never saw the father until the following year. In the same year, speaking to the news. One relative of the biological father speaking to the public and speaking also in this commentary. It's all been just a big fat joke. But that's expected pertaining to abuse of children. And that's something I see in all these cases of abuse. Everything is a facade, a ruse, a cover-up. You don't know people. And this case is a prime example of not knowing people. Parents were not trusted to raise the children properly. The state took the children. Children passed from one foster home to the next. No relatives ever got custody of the children. Thousands of excuses why the state took them away and wouldn't give them to this parent, this auntie, this uncle. You still don't know the truth about any of that, which I find very suspect. And then these people take them, and then later they're on trial for murdering the children, one at least, and cruelty to the other one, which makes no damn sense. It's all a big ass joke. And sadly, as I said in my earlier live stream pertaining to the Frankie children, every day there's a child abused, missing, and murdered. And it's never going to stop until people realize they have no business rearing children. And there is no guidebook to how to be a better parent, the best parent, because in the end, everything's about self-preservation and your perception of who you are and your ideology. And if you think you're doing a damn good job, that's your perception. Somebody else can look at you and say, no, you're not. And you can't tell a grown person what to do and how to live and how to raise their children. And that's the problem. But in the end, many people are not fit to raise children. And there's nothing wrong with deciding that raising children is not for you. That is a personal decision. But to continuously do so, you are wrong. You are wrong. So I advise any person having sexual relations with another human being, if you are self-absorbed, narcissistic, sociopathic, selfish, child rearing is not for you, because you need to have an unselfish heart to raise a child. You need to be selfless. And if you like going, coming, doing what you want, waking up when you want, don't want to work, don't want to be vital in society, child rearing isn't for you. You want to stay out all night, party, chief, get high, use drugs, mess around with this one and that one. Don't be responsible, get in trouble with the law. Child rearing isn't for you. And you can be a law-abiding citizen, don't use drugs, drink, and still have a bad temperament and be selfish. Child rearing isn't for you either. And that's the gist of the story. If you already know your temperament and your vices are more important than taking care of another human or a pet, then don't procreate. That's the bottom line. September 28th is the next hearing date. We will see if Judge Brimmer makes a decision or if it will be postponed to another day. This is the second round since they got their verdict of guilty for one child. Orrin, it's an atrocity and a travesty that you would involuntary manslaughter and the other 2 charges per one child, but not the other. I don't even know how you could come to the decision. Oh, they murdered this one, not on purpose, but they didn't murder this one. the younger one. This is foolishness. This is foolishness. And those people have to sleep with that decision pertaining to the verdicts of both of the children. You have to sleep with that. You got to walk around knowing you thought they, accidentally killed one but didn't kill the other. So I'm going to ask those jury members, well, where do you think the other one is? You don't know where the one is that you found involuntary murder. So where is the baby, the 3-year-old, which is older now? Yeah, you can't answer that because they haven't told us, and they're not going to tell us. You're going by the statements of the children, but common sense should tell you both of the children are dead. It is many years later, and no evidence has been brought forward by detectives, law enforcement, that the children were sold, human trafficked, kidnapped by a family member, stranger, no outsider. Because the children never went anywhere. Point blank. The children never went anywhere. And the children moved from the middle of nowhere. They went from apartment to nowhere in the desert. Perfect place to get rid of children. And then you got to ask yourself, if they made it to the desert, got discarded in the desert, got discarded in the ocean, where are they? Because I don't believe they're alive. And they are believed to have been murdered at the apartment in Bakersfield. And that's even scarier. Killed around people coming and going. But them being so little, they would have been easy to hide. Easy to hide. Probably thrown in a damn dumpster and nobody ever knew it. Sealed it up, threw out a tub in the middle of the night. Nobody suspected a thing. Someone allegedly heard a thud or something in the night, seen the two coming from the dumpster allegedly, but you got to have proof that a child was in something that they threw away. See, you'll never know. Children never came outside to play with other children. That was your first sign right there that something was wrong with Jaqueline and Trezell West. And the whole story is creepy. Everything about the story is negative and creepy, from the biological parents to the West. And that's why I said you couldn't expect anything good to come from the story, because the children never had a good start in the first place. How could something good come from something bad? Rarely does it. When there's ill intention, children pass along from place to place. Everybody's making up excuses why they didn't get the child. But I say the state had to find a reason why they didn't want relatives to get the children. And I'm not here to judge the state, because they have their reasons for everything that they do. It's not to say that they don't make mistakes. Of course they do. But you have to use deduction. In a state that has a high amount of children in foster care and needing homes, why did these people not get the children? Because possibly they felt like the children's safety would still be not regarded. I want to thank you for joining me. Once again, when I get an update pertaining to the hearing, which will be near the end of the month, September 28th, I will bring you the said information. KGET will be live streaming this information or blogging this information, and we will see what the judge decides, or if it will be postponed again. I hope that it won't. I hope the judge sees that, okay, enough is enough. You should know everything you need to know, because you've had ample enough time to bring forward information pertaining to these two defendants. And why do you need more time? And my thing is, if you didn't have all the information you needed during trial, what else could you go find new to bring forward to the judge that could affect the sentencing phase? Everything you need to know about them, you should have already known before and during trial. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeAngie129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during the live streams. Please check out my earlier video pertaining to Kevin Frankie, the husband of Ruby Frankie, and this diabolical story coming from out west pertaining to child abuse of said children, who are now also in the state's custody. And the mother and her lady friend partner are being charged with 6 counts of child abuse. The father does not have custody of those children. Why not? See, as I keep trying to tell you, there's always more to the story. And when you start dealing with the state, and I'm going to say it again because that case is similar to this, except we're dealing with possibly dead children versus these children, they are alive. Why did the father in this case not get custody of the children? Stay woke. Because there's a reason. There is a reason, and a viable one, I'm sure. You have a wonderful night as well, hippie. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Mind the children. No snitch rule when it comes to the abuse of children, the preservation of children. Life is important. The children are our future. No child has ever asked to be here nor choose his or her parents. So we need to preserve the life of children. Yes, Esley, he is. Remain anonymous. Preserve a life. Because you saying something just may save a life. I'll be back with more stimulating conversation and commentary. We're going to dissect possibly tomorrow this diabolical story of Ruby, Frankie, and the children. And I guess we'll dissect the 911 call. There's no respect for life. That's evident. Whether you're an adult or a child, people are vile, they're selfish, they're cruel, and they're miserable. That is the reason why we have true crime, the reason why we have murder, mayhem, abuse, assault, because people don't like themselves. And when they put their foot on soil, they're showing everybody else how much they hate and despise themselves. And so they act out. And sadly, people don't have a problem with abusing children. That should be the last person you would think to abuse as a child. But as I said, if you have no self-respect, no regard for self, you don't have a regard for anybody. And that's including children. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. You've been listening to The Vault. Excel.